When I went to college to get my degree in English, did I think I'd use my English degree? Not really. Why was I at college? To lose my virginity. Just kidding. That's a valid reason to go to college.
Midnight Milkshake.
College is not a scam. I just want to really quickly, we want to talk about this. I think that in this day and age, because of kind of student loan culture and various kind of like propaganda that's out there, a lot of people have become convinced that four-year college is not worth it because the degree that you get doesn't necessarily even guarantee you a job that will enable you to pay off the student loans that you take out going to school. And I think there's some truth to that. I think like choosing your school wisely, choosing, how you're going to be educated given your financial circumstance is important.
Yes.
But I want to really say that I think that going to college for 4 years, going to a real four-year university, and ideally living on campus for one of those years is good for you.
Well, but also my thing with that is like, here's the deal. I went to a 4-year college.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll just say it. I currently have around I have some student loans.
Yes.
And it's a number that is not obscene.
No.
But it's
not insignificant.
It's not it is neither obscene nor insignificant.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'll let you guess what exact number that is. But I still have student loans.
Yes.
But here's what I will say. I don't think you should ever go into obscene student loan debt.
No.
And I think that my amount was as high as you should go.
Yeah.
And it was not obscene.
No.
Yeah. You
Not
could buy a
obscene.
car with it, but you
Yes.
couldn't buy a sports car with it.
Exactly.
I'm going to keep sprinkling clues.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, I'm like, again,
Take your guesses on what it is in the comments.
the value of college is not like when people are like, well, it actually doesn't give you ROI. And in fact, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, but the goal is actually to develop as a human being and like make friends. College is fucking fun. It's also probably the last time in your life where you get to just kind of like hang out with friends in a relatively low stakes environment and kind of like discover yourself, etc. And that part's worth it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it necessarily is true that if you like,
I think if you're
go
looking,
and major and like if you're trying to like get a very specific high paying job and your major alone and your degree alone isn't enough to get that, I would say that's true. But I would also say you're maybe going in with the wrong goal.
I think that's true. I think their goal of college should be to meet new kinds of people, broaden your horizons, and kind of figure out what you're interested in and further kind of refine your identity and your passions and figure out what you are good at and could possibly make money doing. And I don't think a degree necessarily has to translate to money. Like, I think that's a very closed-minded approach to college.
Yeah. You're paying for going to college.
Yeah.
You're not paying to make a ton of money post college.
Exactly.
Now, hopefully what you're doing will eventually lead you there, but also it's like...
Ideally, education and, amplifying your own skill sets and broadening your horizons as a person is something that translates into income. But, like, I don't think it has to be quite so literal.
Well, like, for me, for example,
direct.
all right, I think the goal of going to college is to figure out what you're good at and then find a way to make money doing that.
Yes.
So for me, when I went to college, I figured out that what I was good at was improvisational comedy. And then I got to the finding a way to make money part off of that, and I was like, fuck. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, the richest improviser in the world makes 12 grand, and not from doing improv.
From jerking people off on Zoom.
Yeah.
From Zoom seduction classes.
Actually, you might be wondering what does doing improv translate to?
Yeah.
It translates to leading Zoom jerk-off sessions.
Yeah.
So, and yay, that's not nothing. And that's not nothing.
And he could be charging more for them.
And let me be clear, if you're someone who's like in like the medicine field, for example, like you're a top surgeon.
Yeah, then we're not talking to you.
None of this is for you.
None of this is for you.
In fact, you shouldn't be watching this.
No.
Go back to the hospital.
Again, I think go back to the hospital.
Save a life.
But like in general, when we speak, we're talking to a probably more humanities-minded audience, I like to think, where I'm like, no. Okay, like for example, it's like when I went to college to get my degree in English, did I think I'd use my English degree? Not really. Why was I at college? To lose my virginity. Just kidding. That's a joke. That's a valid reason to go to college. Okay. Do you have anything?
I do actually, but yeah. That's a valid reason to go to college. And again, like I think like, look, How much debt should you go into in order to lose your virginity? I think you should go into enough debt to buy a car, but not enough that would be enough to buy a sports car.
You know what's really funny is like a prostitute costs like $100.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
actually
think
don't
so.
know.
I don't know
If I were
about
on
that.
Price is Right, what if you're on Price is Right and they were like, a prostitute?
If they did like scumbag prices, right?
Yeah.
How much would how much would it cost to get jerked off on Zoom? Yeah.
Like how much is a gram of coke?
Hey.
Dude, I love illegal activity prices, right? As a show concept.
Illegal activity. It's like
Yeah.
all right, how much are you gonna make when you see your aunt left her credit card on the table? How long does it take for you to memorize the numbers? 4 seconds. Amateur hour. You ought to be able to just glance and get it.
Is that who hosts Price is Right? It's someone who talks like that?
Well, that's who hosts Scumbag Prices,
got it,
right?
got it,
I think
got
the host
it.
of normal Prices Right is like Wayne Brady or something.
Oh.
I think it's someone nice.
Wayne
Obviously.
is a really high paid improviser.
Well, no, improvise. Also, you could even be like Tina Fey is a highly paid improviser.
Yeah.
There's tons of
There's
improvisers
lots
who
of
make a ton
highly
of
paid
money.
improvisers, yeah.
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 I'm a relatively high paid
You are a
improviser
highly paid
compared to
improviser.
the field,
Yeah, in the
but
field.
not so high paid that
Well,
I
you're a
paid off
middle
my
class
student loans.
improviser.
Yeah. I'm a middle class improviser.
Which is actually really a huge accomplishment.
The only thing more embarrassing than being a broke improviser is being a middle class improviser. The only thing more
Well, I'm a middle class influencer.
Well, but again, I was about to say that the only thing more embarrassing than being a like dumb rich influencer is being a dumb middle class influencer.
Yeah, dude. And you know what? I love it. And I do it proudly. But I would also call myself not an influencer, but a techno-feudal serf, as
We've discussed
ad
this on
nauseam.
this podcast
I know.
before.
I'm just saying. I'm just reiterating to the Midnight Milkshake heads that I don't identify as an influencer. I identify as a techno-feudal serf first and foremost.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like, again, I'm just kind of like, I don't really know if I identify as anything. I'm just kind of doing stuff.
Right. You're just out here.
I'm just out here.
Yeah, you're fluid.
Yeah.
Your identity, your career fluid.
Yeah. I'm career fluid.
Yeah.
And then I say that to my grandma when she asks what I do for work. And then I get mad at her for not immediately
Yeah.
knowing what that means.
And then people are worried about you.
My grandparents like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't really say I'm an influencer. I'm somewhat career fluid. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, you dumb bitch.
Yeah.
You don't need, yeah, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a middle class improviser.
What else do you need to know?
You're like, I'm doing a bit about scumbag prices right.
My grandma's like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I leverage my content across multiple algorithms. You fucking dumb
Are you
idiot.
dumb or something?
What did you do for work? She's like, I was a nurse for 40 years. I'm like, fucking the algorithm doesn't care about that.
The algorithm doesn't care about that.
No.
Unless you have good content relating to it.
I used to kind of be like sad about the fact that I've never had what I would consider a cool boss, but then I've realized like it's actually impossible to have a cool boss. Like the boss employee dynamic is set up in such a way where it is literally impossible for a boss to be cool while still being your boss.
No, I think that's true. It's the same way that cool teachers never have well-behaved classes.
Yeah, cool teachers never get the best test scores. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because they have to forego their responsibilities as a teacher in order to be cool.
Well, in order to command respect, you have to command, right?
Yeah.
And if you're commanding at some point, like they're just, again, in order to be an effective boss, you have to be bossin'. And no one likes to be bossed.
Well, the boss's goal is to get their employees to do as much work as possible.
Yeah.
And the employee's goal is to do as little work as possible.
Right.
So there's never going to be unity there.
The
ever.
goals are always going to be at odds.
Like, all right. I once had a boss who I guess on the whole was about as cool as a boss could be. You know what I mean? Like pretty cool, whatever. But this boss, every single time I would call in sick, he wouldn't pick up when I called. He would just make me leave a message. And I would email also saying, I'm sick, I have to take a sick day. And here's the deal. He would email me back at like 4 p.m. saying, okay, feel better. But you know what I mean? Like I would email at like 7:30 in the morning and being like, I can't come in today, I'm sick. And I would leave a message saying, I can't come in today. No response.
Dude.
No acknowledgement until like around the end of the day. Okay, fine. And I'm just like that's one of those things where I'm like, you're allowed to do that. No one is breaking any rules, but that sucks.
Okay, but here's my thing. That's silent treatment and psychological warfare.
I would argue it is.
And I always think about this. People, okay, whatever. Robert rolls his eyes at this, and I think, whatever, you can roll your eyes at it. But I think people talk about this in terms of that being like a neurotypical behavior where it's like utilizing and weaponizing unspoken cues that we've all agreed are okay to try to train you not to do things.
Well, also it's the perfect little grift, because I would seem crazy if I was like, hey, you email me back right away.
Yeah.
Hey, when I say I'm sick, you email me back right away. And they'd just be like, well, what? I'm sorry, I didn't get to it. I mean, you're allowed to take a sick day. I didn't say you couldn't.
Yeah. But again, as someone who prides myself on being a direct communicator who is never trying to make anyone feel weird, like that pisses me off when I can tell that someone's trying to indirectly communicate something to me the intended purpose is to make me feel weird. And I hate when I feel like they're trying to train me like a dog not to do something.
Okay. All right. This is a message for all passive aggressive people who think they're being so clever.
Yeah.
It's like,
we see you.
We know what you're doing.
We know what you're doing.
We know what
it's just that we know that we'll seem crazy if we call it out.
Well,
But I'm like, but again, it's like, it is passive aggressive people literally have a fucking gun to your head at all times. And they act like they're like being so suave. I'm like, no, you have a gun to my head. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, passive aggressive people leave a social environment in which they've like metaphorically held a gun to everyone's head, and they're like, huh, none of them even noticed I had a gun to their head.
We noticed.
We
We just like, no, we can't say you have a gun because the unspoken code of society is that if I point out you have a gun, suddenly I'm the one with the gun.
Yeah.
But again, we know. Like,
well, it's like a passive aggressive person would look at you and be like, wow, it's cool you have the confidence to wear that outfit. And then they'll like smile as if like their little dig went unnoticed just because I didn't like flip a table. I'm like, well, no, I clocked it. I'm not going to say anything until like, I'm not going to say anything until I'm alone in my shower the next day. Just like, oh, I hate my outfit.
But like what's so interesting too is like they want you to feel, when they say that, they want you to feel that they hate your outfit, but they want you to be like, why do I feel like they hate my outfit if they said that they liked my outfit? They want you to be confused, but they want you to feel bad and be confused as to why you feel bad. It's like, no, I feel bad and I know why I feel bad. It's because you're a fucking dickhead. Yeah. But I'm not gonna be like, you're a fucking dickhead. Like again, I'm like, but it's so crazy to act like you're talking in code when I'm like, yeah, we all learned the code.
Yeah.
Like,
you didn't come up with your own secret code. We know what you're doing. I know
what you're saying. Like I know what you're communicating. I know how what you said is supposed to make me feel. It is making me feel that way. But I also know that there's some unspoken rule that says that I'm not allowed to say that I feel the way you intended to make me feel without you saying, why would you feel that way? That's not what I said.
Yeah.
I don't know. Passive aggression really, it just pisses me off.
If someone comes up to me,
assumes that you're dumb. You're assuming I'm dumb.
If passive aggressive people, all right, if someone came up to me and they said, hey, I hate your outfit. Look, I wouldn't love it, but I can work with that.
Yeah.
Because now at least you respected me enough to like be like, look, I know you'd see through the bullshit.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to tell I hate your outfit. Where passive aggressive people, they're just like, oh, wow, fun outfit. And they turn away as if their little dagger went unnoticed as it slid through my fucking chest. I know you hate my outfit.
Also, again, what's the point of that?
The point of that is that's my whole thing. They think they're being sneaky. They think they're having the best of both worlds. They get to be mean while having everyone think they're nice. No, literally everyone knows you're not
We
nice.
all think you're mean.
We all get it. That's also the thing. I'm like, I know clearly what you're doing. All right. It's also like sometimes you get punished for just being polite enough to not call out people for their weird behavior.
Yeah.
So then they keep doubling down as if it's like, haha, well, they didn't comment. Therefore, they must not have noticed how weird and sketchy I'm being. I'm like, no, I just noticed. I'm obviously not going to say anything.
It's like I'm countering your passive aggression with actual passivity.
Yeah.
And then over time, it's like you're teeing me up to have to be so aggressive.
Yeah.
Which again, it sucks. It's like the aggression has to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're literally putting the ball in my court. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And you will pay for your sins, if not in this life, in the next.
Well, again, I send an email saying I'm out sick today. You know. Because you see it, because obviously you see the email right away. Otherwise, you'd be like, wait, why aren't you at work? You see it. You just wait until 4 p.m.
Because you're trying to train this person to feel uncomfortable in the silence of being sick.
Okay, dude.
Which is crazy.
Do you want to know how modern corporate culture is designed to just fuck the worker and drive them insane? I had a job where I had 5 sick days a year. 5, which not great, but you'll take it. 5. But then, okay, I tried to use, I was like the end of the year and I had 2 sick days left or whatever. It was getting toward the end of the year. And I tried to use one around like October. And then I was told that actually it's not that I start the year with 5 sick days and I, and can just use them whenever I want. By working at the company for the entire year, I gradually accumulate 5 sick days. So the idea is at the end of the year, on December 31st, I would complete the cycle and have my full 5th. So I was just kind of like, all right, whatever, kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then like, all right, I just didn't use my last 2 sick days that year because I'm like, whatever, I haven't accumulated them yet.
Right.
So then early in January, I say, all right, I'm going to use one of my leftover 2 sick days. And then I'm told, well, no, your sick days don't roll over. So you can't just use the 2 sick days you had left over from the previous year.
But I just accumulated them.
Yeah, so wait a minute.
But
I finished accumulating my 5th sick day December 31st at the stroke of
and then
midnight.
it immediately disappeared.
But then it disappears?
It disappeared? So the second that I earn the sick day is gone?
And so then they go, and then I had to take the sick day. I was sick, so I took the sick day anyway. And they're like, that's fine. Even though it doesn't roll over. And you still haven't, by the way, accumulated in this new year
any sick days yet.
So they go, well, it's fine. You'll just it'll just be taken out of you the future sick days you accumulate. And I'm like, so I'm in sick day debt. I had 2 extra sick days last year, but I hadn't accumulated them, and somehow 2 sick days that I am owed from the previous year plus 5 I have this year becomes me being -1 sick days.
Also, again, like, what if I am really sick at the top of the year and I need like 3 sick days at the top of the year?
But also, clearly you're making this up as you go, and you're counting on the fact that I'm not going to sue you over 1 sick day.
Right.
Which you're right.
Well, again, they don't pay you enough to get a lawyer to help you sue them.
Yeah.
And they don't give you enough time to find a lawyer to help you sue them.
And by the way, if you're confused by the whole like accumulate sick days throughout the year, they don't.
It doesn't make any sense.
You're
don't
correct.
be confused.
You're right.
It just doesn't make any
though.
sense.
Don't be confused. You should be confused.
Yeah, that's the
correct.
point. The point is confusion. But again, I will say there's just a certain type of person in our society that goes around trying to cause confusion and chaos in order to get their way. And we just want to say, we know what you're doing, you chaotic, confusing frickers. And again, you will pay for it, if not in this life, in the next. Okay?
Yeah.
How about this? Directly communicate. Let's all directly communicate. If I say, hey, I'm sick, you say, you're a lazy fuck and I don't believe you and I'm pissed that you're sick, but see you tomorrow right away.
And I'll say, too bad you don't believe me because I have a sick day. And then you say, actually you don't. They accumulate throughout the year and they don't roll over, which I will only, and that was another thing. He didn't even tell me when I said, like, when he said, like, they accumulate throughout the year, that would have been a great time to be like, and also they don't roll over. Instead, it's just whenever I need a sick day, there's some new fine print clause that says, nope.
Well, people also talk about the myth that is the PTO, the unlimited PTO.
Well, I've never even had unlimited PTO.
Well, okay, but people talk about how unlimited PTO, the whole thing about it is that it's essentially like a psychological warfare tactic where by giving people unlimited PTO, they start to worry about taking PTO because they don't know what that means. Like when you don't tell people a set amount of PTO that they have, they will take less PTO overall. So it's been proven that if you have unlimited PTO, people will take less time off than if they had a set amount of PTO.
And here's the thing about unlimited PTO. There is an amount that's too much.
Right. But you don't know what it is, so you're just scared and you just don't take any at all.
Like if I have unlimited PTO for a year, if for 1 year I have unlimited PTO, if I try to take 365 days off, I'm not going to be allowed to do that.
No, of course not.
So then we agree there is a limit.
There is a limit.
And you don't know when it is. Again, it's like playing Russian roulette with your PTO.
But that's the whole thing. Like that's why it was invented.
And that's also why no one will ever do it because like, well, I don't know which day will be the day that like knocks the domino over.
Right.
And then they, of course, saying unlimited PTO doesn't mean they won't fire you for using too much PTO. It means they'll get annoyed you're using too much PTO and then fire you for something else.
Right, exactly. Or they will be like, we feel like you're not committed to your role. Like they'll like use the fact that you take a lot of PTO as a way to be like, you're not committed to your role.
Yeah. Dude, I've never had a boss be psyched I took PTO. Because, all right. You know what? I once gave a boss 2 weeks notice that I was going to take 1 PTO day. So 2 weeks before I took the day, I gave notice that I was going to take a day off for PTO. And he was annoyed and he was like, really wish you gave me more of a heads up here. But here's the thing. 2 weeks is plenty. It wasn't like an important day. It was just a normal day. And I'm like, you just don't like that I'm skipping work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you don't no, if I told you it 3 weeks before, you'd be like, really wish you gave me more notice. If I told you 6 months before, you'd be like, really wish you told me a little closer to the day so we kind of know what's going on. You just don't like it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there can be no cool boss. And
No.
a boss can never really have a cool employee. And if the boss does have a cool employee, that employee is an indentured servant who has not seen their wife and kids in 10 years, you know? That's the only cool employee to a boss.
Well, yeah, an employee, if a boss thinks that you're a good employee, that means that you're probably severely neglecting other arenas of your life that you should be paying attention to. How about this? There's no such thing as a good employee and a good husband.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Here's my thing. I think my dad was a pretty good employee to his job. I don't know. He was lacking in some other areas. May he rest in peace. I think it's hard. It's hard to be a good employee and also show up in other facets of your life.
There are some times where like someone will be like, all right, when people act like their job is the reason they're a bad husband and father, I always kind of side eye. Like guys will be like, men in like their late 50s will be like, look, I was focused on my career, which meant that, I went a lot of time without seeing my wife and kids. I'm like, you're like a middle manager at an insurance company. You could have totally seen your wife and kids.
You absolutely could have seen your wife and kids.
Yeah. You absolutely. They're like, no, because you see, I had to go to work and then I had to go pretend I was at work while I cheated on my wife, And I was like, so what are you going to do?
Okay, but Robert and I also always talk about how the whole idea of like man work, woman stay at home, that relationship dynamic incentivized a whole generation of people, the boomers and the silent generation, to specifically couple up with people they didn't actually want to spend time with. Because the thing is, if you're like deeply in love with your partner or significant other, the idea that like I'm at the office all day and she's at home with the kids all day and we don't see each other from literally the hours of 8 to 6 p.m. that would torture you if you liked each other. And so like, why is it like, oh, my parents hate each other? Like lots of millennials feel like that. Like, oh, my parents hate each other. Why are they together? It's because if they didn't hate each other, that work lifestyle would have been untenable.
Well, yeah, you would hate that. It would upset you. But instead, there's that thing where I'm like, well, I'm glad he's at work all day because he would drive me nuts if he was around the house.
Right.
Just you don't like
You don't
him.
like that person.
You married someone you don't like.
It's not normal to not want to see someone for the majority of your time.
Yeah, that's weird.
If you're choosing someone to be in a partnership with, like, you should want to see that person more than you don't see them.
And on the reverse side, if a guy's like, whew, I'm glad I'm at work, the old ball and chains driving me crazy. I'm like, you would literally rather be at work than with your wife. You hate your wife because work sucks.
Exactly. You don't like your wife.
Yeah.
Do you love work or do you hate your wife?
Yeah. Do you love work or do you hate your wife?
You love work because you hate your wife.
And maybe that's the way it goes.
I mean, I do think about that a lot where I'm like, I think so many people nowadays are depriving themselves of lives they like. And so what they come to know as love or joy is just the absence of the thing they really don't like.
Yeah.
So like most people live in an ebb and flow of doing something I hate and being like, I fucking hate this. And then not having to do the thing I hate and being like, I guess I love this because it's not the thing I hate.
Well, dude, that also reminds me of this thing of like, okay, I think like the boomers had the dynamic where the man worked all the time and the woman stayed at home and they'd always do little jokes about how they didn't really like each other. The woman's like, well, he's at home, he just gets in the way. And the man is like, yeah, I'm at work because when I'm at home, the old ball and chain is yapping my ear off or whatever. But then I've noticed like people in like modern day, like the younger generation, it's like they'll try to have the same sorts of jokes, but without even like the stability to kind of support it. It's like, I think they like to them, it's like, well, that's what a good relationship is.
Yeah.
Man make ball and chain jokes, woman make dumb man jokes.
Right.
So they'll do that about like their shitty boyfriend.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's like, but you're like, okay, the reason why those jokes were funny is because at the end of the day, they had like a roof over their heads and food to eat.
Well, the deal was, yeah, we hate it. The deal was, yeah, we hate each other, but she,
takes care of the kids,
and I provide the house.
Yeah,
and it's like, but now it's like, you guys don't have kids, you don't have a house, you actually just don't like each other,
right? Like, there's literally nothing keeping you together. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have babies. You just don't like each other.
You just have a mutual dislike.
But also, that's all you know about love is that love is mutual dislike.
To you, that must mean your relationship's working. It's like, we're doing what my parents did.
Right, but it's like, but you don't have the house or the kids. And then you would say, well, yeah, because we're millennials. And to that, I would say, dude, that is so funny where I'm like, are millennials just as miserable as boomers, but without the material assets that make being miserable feel acceptable?
Well, here's the thing. At least boomers were miserable in their own house at their job. At their job.
Yeah. Millennials are unemployed in their apartments.
Yeah. But that's also the thing about like trad wife content where it's like you're telling people to be a trad wife in like a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
It's like, well, what's even
also,
the
again,
trade-off here?
It's like if I'm a trad wife in a 1-bedroom apartment, cleaning is just not going to take all day.
Yeah.
Cleaning, really, we top off at like an hour.
Also,
even
like,
if I'm really scrubbing.
The thing about the trad wife is they put on the pedestal this ideal life of like the suburban housewife in the mid-1950s, some of the saddest, loneliest, most bored people ever put on this earth.
Who all became addicted to pills because they were so bored.
They were bored. I'll see so many guys post content that's like fitness hack, diet hack, meal prep. And I'm like, at a certain point, this is just an eating disorder.
Yeah. And I always say that the difference between men and women's eating disorders is that like women know to be ashamed of theirs and men are just out here being like, yeah, oh, I just eat 7 eggs a day and that's it. And I've lost a ton of weight and I'm always really cold and I'm scared to be around a pie because I just can't control myself around it. It's like, yeah, that's like an eating disorder, man.
Well, yeah, if a teenage girl is like, I only let myself have 3 small pieces of dried beef jerky a day, and that's it. She's like praying her parents don't find out about that, and that people at school don't find out about her beef jerky only diet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like guys will have the exact same diet. Like 35-year-old men will have the exact same diet, and they'll like be bragging about it on every social media platform. They'll be like, it's the intermittent fasting jerky diet. Can't recommend it enough.
They're writing books about it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like I, as an anorexic teen, I'm hiding my food journal to make sure no one finds it. And they're publishing that shit.
Well, it's also the thing with guys where it's
they're monetizing their eating disorders.
Yeah, guys monetize their eating disorders, but again, they're like, no, it's meal prepping. It's meal prepping.
Also, they're like it's good to fast for 72 hours at a time. Your cells regenerate. It's good for the body. Maybe that's true.
Are we just talking ourselves back into
like, should I do the jerky intermittent fast?
The jerky? Well, that's another thing about like that really like muscly look where like you can see veins poking out. It's
sinewy.
Like that, sinewy, as they say. That's like a sign of dehydration.
Yeah,
that's a sign. Dude, one of my favorite stories about that is like I think it was the director of Les Mis or whatever was talking about how Hugh Jackman, before he filmed a scene where he's like Jean Valjean in the prison, he like didn't drink water for 3 days straight, and the director's like, yeah, I didn't ask him to do that. Also, like, you watch the scene, he's like fully clothed. You can't even see his body. I'm like, Hugh.
Hugh, we can't tell you're dehydrated.
Hugh,
you did that for nothing. You did that for nothing.
Guys will be like, the key to being in shape is to not drink water for days on end so your veins get extra poppy. And I'm like, are you trying to get ready for like senior spring break?
Yeah.
You're like a teenage girl trying to get ready for senior spring break, but you're bragging about it as if I'm stupid for not doing your crazy little weird ED.
Yeah, well, the ED, like the Tumblr, obviously back in the day, pro-Ana Tumblr was huge. Maybe it is again. Maybe it's had a resurgence. I don't know. But one of the main characters that was featured on pro-Ana Tumblr was Cassie from Skins, who plays Sam's wife in Game of Thrones, the British girl.
Cool.
Hannah Murray, I think her name is. But in Skins, she's this like really anorexic teen. And there's this meme that would always go viral from Tumblr that was like, I didn't eat for 3 days so I could be lovely for you or whatever. And it's like, that's like the pinnacle of like weird anorexic girl. And I'm like, but like literally men on the internet do that every day right now.
Dude, that's what bodybuilders do when they go on like Navy SEAL podcasts. They're like, yeah, I've been in intermittent fasting for 3 days so I can be ready for you.
Yeah. So I looked good for this podcast, Joe.
Well, it is funny. It's like, dude, like guys act like Modern day like muscle guys act like they've like cracked the code on like meal prepping and like, but really they fully just have eating disorders. They'll literally be like, no, the key is that the traditional diet is not serving you. It's not building up your muscle. It's not cutting your fat. You need to be fasting for as long as humanly possible, eating very limited calories, definitely limited carbs. You need to like disrupt the natural order of eating. You need to have an eating disorder. Oh
Yeah, they're like eating disruption.
We need to disrupt eating. It's not an eating disorder. It's an eating disruption.
Yeah, I don't have an eating disorder. I don't have an eating disorder. I am an eating disruptor. I'm disrupting the eating space by not doing it. Do you know what I mean?
That being said, should we end this podcast and go get a sweet treat?
Yes, definitely.